Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stay on Top with Drag and Drop, creating interactive digital activities, presented by me, Joy Blake. Let's get started. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Joy Blake. I work for Chicago Public Schools as an instructional technology specialist. I'm a Google certified trainer, and I've been an educator since 2005. I also have my own website called Blake Basics, where you can find all my lovely presentations and learn more about me. Check it out. Now, let's get to the nitty gritty. First and foremost, here are our learning objectives for today. Will be able to understand what the drag and drop technique is and how to use it within their classrooms. Learners also will discover digital resources to use within their classroom. So, within this presentation, or when you watch the video, I've also included a hyperlinked quick doc Google Doc that has a link that will have a link to this presentation. And within the presentation, you'll see tons of examples, tons of resources that you can use and make a copy of within your own classrooms. And then it also, on that hyperdoc, it'll have all my contact information so you can reach out. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, there are tons of different ways to use drag and drop. In this video, I'm going to show you four. Okay, four. But, anyways, the four ways to use drag and drop is one, to create a scene or your own digital background. Secondly, you can use it to create sorting activities for your students. Next, you can use it to revamp your current curriculum and change worksheets or even slide decks and make them more interactive for your students. And last but not least, you can use them to annotate. My most favorite is annotate. And you can use it for fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Get it? I mean, fill in the blank activities. All right. Now, what is drag and drop? Drag and drop is a feature where students move an object either to sort, annotate, or answer. So it's basically all my examples are going to be on Google Slides, and students are able to move things to complete their work. That's drag and drop. This is my slide about the infamous snipping tool. You're going to hear me reference it a lot in this presentation. I'm using a Chromebook. So if you hear me say I'm using Command Shift Print Screen, that's because I am using a Chromebook right here. I'm using a Chromebook. If you're on a Mac, you want to use Command Shift 4. And if you're on a Windows device, you're going to use the Windows key plus Shift plus S. So I'm not going to talk too much about this, but I do want you to understand I'm on a Chromebook. If what you see on your screen doesn't match me, you might not be on the same type of computer, but I've included this slide to help you just reference that quick link doc that I talked about earlier. All right, and before I really get to the nitty gritty of it all, I have to talk about intellectual property. I've included this quote because we will be using the snipping tool. The snipping tool pretty much allows you to cut out or use pieces from the internet to add to Google Docs or Google Slides or whatever document or even websites. So it's important that you respect other people's ideas and other people's creativity and creations on the internet. So this quote says, intellectual property more than ever is a line drawn around information, which asserts that despite having been set loose in the world and having inevitably been created out of an individual's relationship with the world, that information retains some connection with its author that allows that person some control over how it is replicated and used. So keep in mind, anything you create, if you're looking to sell it, then you have to keep in mind that it belongs to somebody else. So try to use these activities pretty much with your students and don't take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? All right, now let's get to some demos, my favorite part. So first, we're going to learn how to create a scene. I'm only going to click on one of these examples just so you can see what do I mean by a scene. So for instance, here is a virtual locker activity. This is an example of a scene that this person created. His name is Brandon Sigmund. I love this activity. But as you can see, the students are unable to click really on this. And now if they want to, they can bring in images, insert images from the internet, and drag them into this Google slide without changing the background. That is an example of creating a scene. Let's do it. Ching! What you're going to do is you're going to find a background. Now, since it's Christmas time, holiday season, I'm going to create a holiday scene. So for instance, I'm going to go to insert Google search, and I'm going to do a Google image search, and I want a starry night background. All right, so I found my starry night background. Let's see, which one do I like? Holy night, the stars are brightly shining. Okay, so I got my starry night background, and now I want my scene. So I want my students. So now it's a background. My students can't mess with that. But I want to create one where it's like a Santa with his sleigh, and I want my students to drag in presents or something like that. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to shapes, because the shapes have a lot of cool things. And I want to use this little slanted shape here. And when I insert it, I'm going to make it very large. And I'm going to make it large. I'm going to make it large enough so that it actually will become my snow. All right, so here we go here. All right, and I'm gonna make it a little bit taller. All right, so now I've got my snow. I can click on it, go to the border. Maybe I want it to be a little thicker to make it pop from the stars. And then my next thing, I'm gonna go to insert. So I'm gonna go to insert, search the web. And keep in mind, I like to use images from the Google search within this because I know these images are approved for commercial use. So I don't have to worry about copyright issues or anything like that. So I'm going to use the search, and all right, so I have a transparent tree, and you want to put in clip art because it'll be more animated. And actually, the reason why I put the word transparent is because you don't want to have like a white background image. You want it to kind of like blend in easily. So I'm going to pick this one. And now I have my Christmas tree, and see how there's no white behind the tree. That's what you want. And you can resize it. Okay. And then I'm going to insert Miss Santa. And I'm going to look for a transparent Santa on his sleigh. Okay. I like this one. So I'm going to insert that. All right. And there's Santa. And now what I can do is also insert a text box. And maybe I'm going to fill it. I'm going to fill it white, and I'm going to put in the directions. So that means my students have to drag over one present because 3 minus 2 is 1. Anyways, now I'm going to download this whole thing as a JPEG so that my students can't move around the tree, move around the Santa, which can be irritating, and also allow students, they get confused when stuff moves that's not supposed to. So in order to do that, you're going to go to File, you're going to Download, and you're going to download it as a JPEG. I repeat, you go to File, you go to Download, you download it as a JPEG, and now it is an image. So now I can actually insert this as a background. So I'm going to go to background. I'm going to go choose my image, and I'm going to upload because I just downloaded that as an image. And when I do that, here is my background. I'm going to insert that in, and now I'm done. And now my students, there's nothing that they can drag. And now if I wanted to, the next step, let's make something for them to drag. So for them to drag something, I'm going to insert some presents. All right, so I'm going to go back to my search the web, and I'm going to make sure that it's transparent, and I'm going to put presents. All right, and let's see, I'll do this. And one little shortcut that I like to do is to use Control D, because that means duplicate, and you don't have to keep like copying over or finding presents. So I'm going to do Control D and get like 5 presents. See now, quick, bang, bing, boom. That was quick. I have my presents. I want one more, so I go here. And now technically my students could drag over the 1 to fulfill the answer. And then you could just duplicate this whole slide, hit Control D, and give them a different problem or whatever you're going to do. So that is an example of a scene. Let's keep it moving. So if we go, so now you know how to make a scene. Now let's look at how to create how to change pre-created curriculum into drag and drop activity. So if I look, this is one that I created before. This is a division quiz. And if you look here, basically what I did to make this problem is I used the snipping tool to get a math problem. And then I made that math problem a background. And then I just inserted text boxes and my students can put in their answer. So if you look here, this is pre-created curriculum. I got this from a worksheet. And then all I did was add in the circles, excuse me, as a draggable component. So here, and I'm gonna show you one more, and then I'm just gonna actually show you how to do it. So if you're like, yeah, like here, this little caterpillar, this is clearly snipped from a worksheet, and I resized it, made it a background, and then added in the drag and drop component. So let me show you quickly how to do that yourself. So let's go back to our demo slide, and I'm gonna go to the internet and I'm gonna search for multiplication worksheet. All right, and let me just find one that I like, move myself. All right, so maybe I want my students to do this problem. So I'm gonna hit Command Shift Print Screen because again, I'm on a Chromebook and I'm just gonna snip this problem here, 7 times 7. All right, I'm gonna capture it and I'm gonna put this into this slide deck here. Okay, and now I've resized it to make it bigger. So this curriculum, this is already created. I'm just changing it to make it interactive. So that's this. And maybe I want it to be a background. So I need it to be a background so that my students don't move around the problem, which is irritating for me and for them. So I'm gonna go to File, download as a JPEG once more. And now that it's downloaded as a JPEG, I'm going to just open up a new slide and insert that as the background. So I'm going to upload it just like I did with the other one. There it is. Okay. All right. So here's the problem. They can't mess with it. So there's 2 things I could do. You might say, okay, how does she get the boxes in? You could go to shapes. You could use a square, resize it. You know, the answer is 49. And I'm going to hit Control D to get that other one super quick. So you could do it that way and then have your students actually type. Make sure if you want them to type the answer that you put the font like the size that you want it to be, because kids will get frustrated if it's too small or whatever. So I would just preset that size. So, okay, so now you have 49. I'm just going to duplicate this one because it's the size I want. So now you have this. Okay, so you could have your students type, or you could just have a whole bunch of numbers here on the side, and your students could literally drag over what the answer is. But the point of me showing you this is that I didn't have to create this problem. I got it from a worksheet. I added on to it, and then I made it draggable or a little more interactive than just writing 49. Maybe they had to drag over 49. I mean, the options are limitless, just like this picture. You could easily, and I'm going to actually demonstrate this because further along, I'm going to talk about fill in the blank, but this would be a great worksheet for fill in the blank. So I'm going to show you that as well. So I'm going to hit my print screen. I'm like, ooh, look, all right, I got this. And I'm going to just capture this. And if I want to, I'm going to put it on a new slide, move myself. And then I'm going to put it here and it's going to be resized. Cool. And now if I want to, I'm going to make this the background, make it a little bigger. Oh yeah, that's great. And now I can again go to File, Download, JPEG. It's going to become a background. You can open up a new slide if you want to, or you can literally just make it a background within the current slide. So I'm going to show you that. So if I go to Insert, I'm sorry, not Insert. If I go to Background and then I click Choose Image, and I find that image that I just downloaded of the apples. So here it is. When I do it, you don't have to always open a brand new slide. You could just do it on top of the current slide you have. So for instance, when I click on it, these apples are movable, but if I just move it, the background is behind it. So I can just literally delete that. It's like a quick step. It saves you like a couple clicks from actually making a new slide every time. Just a little, helpful hint. So this is an example of fill in the blank. So you could easily, if you want to put in the boxes, or you could just, blank groups of apples, blank groups of blank apples each. So we technically have 4 groups of 3 apples each. And if you want to save yourself time, and this is something I used to do as a math teacher all the time, instead of trying to make text boxes, just find the numbers that you need and insert them as images. It just saves time. So I'm going to look for the number 4. Okay, there's number 4, and you can be as fun as you want, whatever you want. So I'm going to insert a 4, and then I don't have to type it. It's just done for me. So here's number 4, bow, bing, boom. And then I'm going to insert a 3. So I'm going to find a 3 here. And here's that. And there's the 3. Resize that bad boy. All right. Okay, so I got 4 groups of 3. It's kind of big, but you can resize it, and now it's just an interactive fill in the blank that took you less than a minute to create once you get these steps. So let's go back to the original presentation. So far, I've shown you how to create a scene, how to change pre-created curriculum, and how to do a fill in the blank activity. We really only have 2 more left to show, and you could use in these. You kind of probably are like, oh, I get this. Like, I can do this. So let's get to the next one, which is sorting activities. Now for this one, I'm not necessarily going to demo this for you, but I am going to show you an example because I really feel like it's the same steps. All you're going to do is get your background and get your image, make it a background, decide what you want your students to sort, and have them sort that. So if I look at the Venn, here's my example. I did a Venn diagram activity with my students. So here's the example. All I did was I went online, I found a worksheet that had a Venn diagram that I like, and I snipped this part. Using the snipping tool, I made that, and then I put the image on this slide. I downloaded it as a JPEG and made it into a background. So my students can't move this around. And now I just inserted pictures of animals from the internet. And now my students can drag it over like, okay, butterfly is land, crocodile is both, a seahorse is water. And now I've just created a draggable, interactive sorting activity. I've seen people do this with shapes. I've seen people do this with all kinds of stuff. Here's another example that I have that I created with my students. I had them doing like a fill in the blank type thing with math problems, which is kind of like sorting, like here's the problem, insert the pieces of the problem to get to your answer. So you can be as creative as you want with it, but the main thing you got to remember, find your image, make it a background, download it as a JPEG, and then insert the pieces that you want to be draggable. That's your steps. You got a draggable dot. So now I'm going to show you how to annotate. Here's my example of annotating using a math problem, and then I'm going to actually show you how to do it. So here's a math problem that I created right here, a word problem. And then right here, I inserted a table with these directions. So I want my students to highlight the questions, and it is draggable. So here, this is draggable. They can highlight the question in yellow. I want them to highlight the numbers in red. So I brought over these draggable shapes so they can highlight the numbers. I want them to do the keywords in blue. Okay, keyword is split. Another keyword is evenly. And then I want them to drag over what operation would they use to solve. And the student dragged over division sign. This is a form of annotation. You could do this with social studies, math, reading. I mean, it's limitless. Just be creative. Now let me show you how to do it. Okay, so I've got my word problem here and I want my students to annotate. So my first thing that I'm going to do is insert my table. So I'm going to go to insert table and I just want it to be one row and I'm going to resize that. And I'm going to make the border a little stronger. I want it to be black and I want them to highlight the question in yellow. So I'm going to type highlight question. I'm going to fill this yellow. I wanted them to do the numbers in red. So I'm going to write numbers and I'm going to fill that red. And I wanted them to do keywords in blue. So I'm going to go to keywords and fill and make that blue. And then I'm going to just add one more. Oh no, that's blue. So I'm just going to go to my bucket, make it white. And I want them to drag over the operation to solve. All right. So now you see how I just created the table. All I did was insert a table, move it to the side. That's really all I did. Now, how to make the transparent, draggable shapes, that's what I'm going to show you next. So let's start with highlighting the question. So we're going to go to shapes. I usually just use the rectangle. It's the easiest one and it's easy to resize. And before I start, I'm going to kind of drag it over the question so that it's just like the size I need it to be already. And I just don't like when my students have to do too much work because that leads them to getting frustrated, and I don't want that. So as you can see, when I drag it over, one, I can't see the words at all, and two, it's not yellow. So I'm going to click on it, and now I'm going to fill it, go to the fill, and I'm going to fill it with yellow, but it's still, my students can't see it. So in order to make it transparent, you're going to go, not transparent, but a little bit more see-through, you're going to go to custom, click the plus sign, and here you can change the level of transparency. Whoa! So I'm going to lower it to about here. And then when I do that, now it's still yellow, but my students can see it. And I'm just going to duplicate it so that they have another one to cover this one. And I can just stack these up over here on the side so that they're actually draggable to where they need to go. You can resize it, whatever. So I'm going to show you that one more again so that you know how to do it. So I'm going to go to my shape. I like to use the rectangle and let's do the numbers. So I'm going to resize it so that it will cover all the numbers properly. It won't be too big. Okay, that looks good. And now once I have the shape to the size I want, I'm going to go to the bucket and make it the color I need, which is red, but I can't see through it. So in order to make it see through, I'm going to go to the custom and I'm going to lower the level of transparency to the level that I actually want. And to save myself time, I'm going to use Control D because it's the way I want and I don't want to have to keep recreating. So I'm just going to use Control D so I can get 4 of these and I can just stack them up here. And as I stack them up, the color is going to get darker, but when the students drag it, it's going to still be light. See that? Ooh, I love it. And I'm not going to do the keywords, but last, I'm just going to do the operation part. How did I get those? The multiplication, division sign, all that. I just want to insert image, search the web, my favorite thing to do. And I went to multiplication sign, transparent, got that. And I just inserted it from there, insert. And you usually got to resize it. So I'm just going to resize it so it's not like too big. And then you could do the same thing and you could insert, let's do division sign because division signs are hard to find. So I'm just, hard to create. You can create a multiplication sign just with the letter X. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, here's the division sign. I have this, I'm going to insert it. And now I'm just going to resize it. And there you go. And then you can put up. So this is the starting point for annotation. Wow, you've learned so much. You've gone through this journey with me. I appreciate it. I gave you a little bit of bonus activities. Check this out when you actually look at this slide deck. I hope you enjoyed both. I'm just going to show you these just so that you can see like, wow, this went to another level. Like, for instance, here's a grocery store activity of drag and drop. I love this. This is 100% drag and drop. So the student has to drag the grocery cart to what aisle these items are in. Then they actually can shop and move the items over by stacking, which is what I showed you before just now with the annotation. So all this is draggable. They can't move the background because it's downloaded as a JPEG. They have to take the things out of their cart and put them on the conveyor belt. And then they also have to drag in how much it costs. And the money, again, is just stackable on top of each other in a draggable fashion, and the background can't be moved. So this is an awesome drag and drop activity. Another one that I like here is the aquarium. This is where you're dragging in. This is a student aquarium that they get prizes like for their behavior, but basically the background is a background that they downloaded. It's a JPEG, and then you can make a GIF draggable, or a GIF, as they say. You can insert the GIF, and once you have a background that can't move, you can make GIFs also draggable within a document, which is super fun for kids because it's moving. It's already moving, and they can move it. How fun is that? So I gave you some resources. Enjoy. In my quick link doc that's attached to this video, there's a feedback form. Fill it out. I'd love to hear what you think. And last but not least, check out these cool things that are a reference to me, Joy Blake. I'm on the podcast. This is my website, Blake Basics, and my Twitter, where I tweet. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a lot. Please reach out to me, any questions you have, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks again. Bye.